could have easily gone the other way. It could have easily gone to zero. So imagine being someone who's, multi-millionaire, sticking all of their money into Hertz, and they just lose $10 million overnight. And that was their whole net worth. Obviously you're not going to be doing that by the time you get up to that level of wealth. And there's really something to be learned from that. Not necessarily like, oh, I don't have much now, so it's okay to do this kind of casino, this kind of lottery ticket type mindset. It's like, no, the reason why the people that are up there don't do that is because that's not how they got there in the first place. Hey all, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over my investment strategy. So a couple of you guys have asked me, what is my investment strategy? What am I invested in? And if you guys aren't new here, you guys know that I don't answer questions in the regular way, the way that is most expected. So today we're going to be going over exactly what that investment strategy is, and it has to do with all of these factors. So we're going to be going over age, rate of return, contributions, managing emotions, having a goal and staying consistent. And for the people that stay to the end of the video, you're going to get a little bit about listening to the right voice and what that means to me. So first, let's start out without further ado on age. So all of these things are things that you can basically control. These are the things that you can control. Some of them you have less control over. So that's what we're going to frame this video around. So age. Age is very important. If you guys out there know anybody who is younger, make sure you send them this part of the video. Anybody out there who does understand age already, I guess this part of the video is not for you, but just let me run you guys some numbers that I already did on my handy dandy notepad here. So if you were to invest $10,000 at 22 until 62 at 8%, which is the average return of the stock market, you would have $2.59 million at the end of that 40 years. Now, if you do change the rate of return down here, which we'll get into my thoughts on that, if you change it from 8% to 10%, you'd go from $2.59 million to $4.43 million. So that is a $1.84 million difference. Now that does sound exciting. That sounds like it's going to sell you a whole lot of courses, but we have to get into a little bit more down here. What if you just changed the age by 10 years? So essentially, what if you said you either started at 12 and still ended at 62, or you started at still 22 and you ended at 72, for example. So if you go with the 8 and 10% examples that I just said before, instead of 2.59 million at 8%, you end up with 5.74 million at 8%. And at 10%, instead of 4.43 million, you end up with 11.64 million. So the whole idea of rate of return, it sounds pretty enticing. So that's what sells the courses. That's what gets people, buying the courses. And it is important. It is important that you try to get, a high rate of return, but it's also important that you understand things like, if you look at things like Hertz stock, I don't remember exactly what it went up. I think, don't quote me on this if I'm wrong, but I think it doubled or you got 100% return, but it could have easily gone the other way. It could have easily gone to zero. So imagine being someone who's, multi-millionaire, sticking all of their money into Hertz, and they just lose $10 million overnight. And that was their whole net worth. Obviously you're not going to be doing that by the time you get up to that level of wealth. And there's really something to be learned from that. Not necessarily like, oh, I don't have much now, so it's okay to do this kind of casino, this kind of lottery ticket type mindset. It's like, no, the reason why the people that are up there don't do that is because that's not how they got there in the first place. So rate of return, let's go ahead and get into that. Down with the notepad here, rate of return. So rate of return, I put effort up, returns up, down. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is when you start putting more effort into your rate of return, it could go up. Like a guy that I have a lot of respect for here on YouTube, Meet Kevin, another guy, financial education. They put a lot of effort into what they go do investment wise, and they end up with a very high rate of return. They've done very well for themselves in stocks and in real estate, and vice versa. So the thing is with that, you've only got so much energy to put into all of these other things. So your plan, your appreciation, or your contributions, your income, your outflow, which we'll get into here in a second. You've only got so much time in the day. You know, there's that whole concept of there's only 24 hours in the day. Well, if you're trying to build wealth, you should be putting your time into all of these different concentrations. So efforts, just because you increase your effort does not necessarily mean that you're going to increase your returns. You could increase your efforts, you could learn a lot of the right things, and then things could just go completely wrong with you. Instead of appreciation, you could get depreciation. You could sell at the wrong time. You could, your dividends could get cut. Your rents could not get paid. So let's get into these next things. So appreciation here, we've got appreciation basically is when your assets go up in price. So if your real estate goes up in price or your stocks go up in price, we cannot control that, right? So with the rate of return, we'll just go ahead and put a little X next to that. Your dividends, you cannot necessarily control that. You can figure out which ones are safe. You can figure out which tenants are good that are going to pay the rents most likely. You can screen your tenants. You can look at your properties. But like I said, your efforts are going to go up there and your returns may not go up. So your returns may go up or down. Basically, when you start putting more effort into this rate of return area, your returns might go up, they might go down. So dividends, rents, you got a little bit of control there. So we'll put just a little small X there. Your taxes, you can control this. So I'm not bashing on just the whole rate of returns thing. Your taxes, you absolutely can control this. For example, if you are someone who has a job and you work for, let's say, 100K plus, you should probably get a tax professional because there's probably a lot of things that you could be writing off, a lot of money that you could be saving on taxes. If you have access to something like a 401k, something that you won't be taxed today or something that you won't be taxed tomorrow in a Roth, or whether it be a traditional that you have access to. If you have tax advantages that you can take, you should be taking those. So taxes, that's good. We'll put a circle there. So that is one of the places where I focus, is on how much I'm paying in taxes, because you can control that. All right, moving on. So we said we can't really control appreciation. Dividends and rents, you have a little bit of control over that. You can see what's safer, what's not safer. Taxes, you can absolutely control that. You can control how much you're paying in taxes. Contributions, income. People don't think that they have control over that, but people's limiting beliefs are what keeps them back from knowing you absolutely can control this. So part of my investing strategy is these things like these books, things like learning more, things like making my perceived value in the market higher, right? So once you're perceived, that's really all income is people are willing to pay you a certain amount because they perceive you to have a certain amount of value. Outflow. You can absolutely control this. So we'll put a circle here. You can absolutely control your expenditures. You can absolutely control, in my case, whether I have a roommate that I'm living with. You can absolutely control, like, I didn't buy a huge house. I didn't max out the loan that they offered me. You can absolutely control that. You can control what type of food you eat. You can control all this outflow. You can control that. You can control not having lifestyle inflation. So, and this one. Managing emotions. That's another one that, like, this is more, like I said, it's more of an investment philosophy. You can control how you react to your investments going down in value. You can absolutely control through, I just recently read a book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. You can control, just your emotional reactions. And there is a little bit about anger management in there. I'd really recommend that book if you guys get a chance. And the last one, having a goal / staying consistent. And I promise we're going to get to my actual investment philosophy towards the end of this video. So having a goal and staying consistent. I always say it on these videos, if you don't know where you're going, then, how are you ever going to get there? It's like if you opened up Google Maps and you said somewhere into there, it's not going to take you anywhere. If you don't know where you're going, is your goal 10 million? Is your goal 100 million? Is your goal to be a billionaire? What is that goal? So having a goal and staying consistent, walking that path that you set before yourself diligently. That is, you can control that and you can control this. So, and one last note on having a goal and staying consistent is if you have a desired lifestyle, you have to obviously account for inflation, but you should write down what are those things. Do I want to fly private jets? Do I want to have, a ranch in Texas? Do I want to have, multiple houses? Do I want to have an apartment complex? Write down how much each of those things costs, and that's your target. So you know what you're shooting at. You know what you need to do with all of these other things. You can do the math. So for making it to the end of the video, we've got our bonus one, which is listening to the right voice. So this is kind of more of a subconscious, philosophical type thing, listening to the right voice. So that partially goes into managing emotion. So listening to the right voice is basically, you got two voices in your head. One of them tells you the right way to go to get to your goals. The other voice tells you the path of least resistance. Now, it's very important for you to find some way to foster how to figure out which one of those voices is which. Because sometimes, like, for example, I'll give you guys an example of long distance running. When you're long distance running, you've got two voices in your head. One of them is telling you to quit. The other one is telling you to, keep going and hit your goal. Sometimes you have to listen to that voice that's telling you to quit, because if your goal long term is to say run a half marathon or run a marathon and you're about to injure yourself, then maybe eventually that quit voice is the one that's actually leading you to your goal. But other times things just hurt. There's some short-term pain in the markets. In the long distance running, there's some short-term pain in your legs and your muscles. You feel like quitting. I'm about to go run right now, actually, while this video renders. But you have to listen to that right voice that tells you to stay in the market, to stick to your strategy, and to just continue to build these other things up. So last note that I want to leave you guys with is this guy right here, the income section. So here's what you guys have been waiting for if you're still here. My investing strategy is to try to build out a business that makes $1 million in net income per year. Because if you think about it, if you were to profit that much per year, I've actually done out the math already. Let's say that you actually keep half of that, right? And then let's say that of that $500K that you keep, you invest half of it. So you're investing $250K for 40 years. If you just get that 8% return, which is, you're not really trying to affect it, you're just going into, say, index funds. If you just put it in at that 8% return, you end up at $1 million. And that's because you went for this. You decided to focus all your energy on this, not these. Yes, the taxes, which you should get a tax professional. They can focus on that. If you focus on this and this, that is my investing strategy. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And I think that if you really go out and do the math, you'll see that focusing on these two, people don't want to, focus on those two because they don't understand how do I change those two numbers. So anyways, if you guys want to figure out how to change those two numbers, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. If you want to support the channel, please do hit the links down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.